Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, back to Sports Time HQ. I am your host, Fernando. Joined with me today is my two great co-hosts, Keith and Gary. Keith, how are you starting off?
I'm good. Glad to be back on. The draft was very interesting, so yeah, I think this should be a good show.
Yeah, completely agree. I got the same mindset. Got a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's go.
Yeah, of course, Patriots, they did fantastic in the draft. So we're ready to the Patriots, Seahawks, and Browns, right?
Yeah, I think we could just do this whole show purely on your Patriots from the text messages I was getting from you.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. I don't know where those receipts are. Yeah. Well, we already got a quick question by DJ. Where should Mike Evans go in fantasy football? He is going to have 1,000 yards. I guess DJ is already writing the script for Mike Evans that he's going to have 1,000 yards. I mean, I know he gets it every year, but he is 30 years old. He's going to be 31 just prior to the season starting. He is back with the Buccaneers, and he is still got the Baker Mayfield show over there. What's your thoughts on Mike Evans? Are you guys drafting him, and where are you drafting him?
Depends on value. Right now, I think it's probably like 4th, 5th round, somewhere around that spot. I haven't dived too much into this because we've been all, draft mania up until now. But I think somewhere around there, when I suppose do out projections and rankings and stuff, we'll know more. But probably around 4th, 5th round.
Yeah, that would be my guess as well. If I had to just go off the top of my head, I'd probably say mid to late 4th. I wouldn't really draft him based off of what you think Baker's going to do this year, because I feel like we've seen this story many times before. He comes out and plays otherworldly at first, and then for some reason, as you would think he settles in, it's kind of the opposite of what happens, and he kind of digresses. I'm not going to say it's 100% going to happen this year, but if you're high on Mike Evans, just take that into account, that Baker Mayfield's still not this all-star guy, although he did pretty good last year.
Yeah, I mean, I like Mike Evans a lot, and you draft him early in the rounds. I personally don't think I'm drafting him as my wide receiver 1 this year. I think you're drafting him. I mean, I think he's still going to finish as a low-end wide receiver 1, maybe a high-end wide receiver 2, but he could be a wide receiver 3. We've seen a couple guys like DeAndre Hopkins fall a little bit over the past years, and some other guys. So I'm not drafting Mike Evans being the first wide receiver off the board for your team. But like Gary and Keith said, I would be taking him 4th, 5th round. I think that's a fair value right now. I think he's going wide receiver 14, 15 in redrafts. Why you're doing redrafts on May 1st, I don't know why, but hey,
Why not? We should get on it, guys.
I know. I guess so. We could really just do a redraft just May, and then do one in August and really compare just the two
differences.
How different it became. But yeah, I mean, are you guys drafting Mike Evans? Would you guys draft Mike Evans if he fell to you in the 5th round? Would you draft him?
Depends on how many wide receivers. If I've got 2 wide receivers by then, and I'm happy with my makeup of the rest of my team, then yeah, I'll get him as my wide receiver 3, no problem. Wide receiver 2, I'm not too sure. I'm kind of iffy on that.
Okay.
I mean, I think that if I see him there sitting in the 5th, I'd probably snatch him up. But of course, the context is who's still on the board. So
here's always the biggest question, because I think Keith, you and I had this question last year when we were doing mocks. Would you rather draft Chris Godwin or Mike Evans first?
It's a tough one. I mean, you're kind of getting the big plays and the touchdowns off Evans, but I think the consistent points, it depends how you build your team, is probably more from Godwin. He gets more of that short route, 8-10 yards, maybe get the first down and go, and he can sneaky for a touchdown. So it's tight. I generally, when I rank, I don't have too much between them. I know probably sounds silly because Mike Evans, always comes out with these worldly scores, but he also goes off hurt a lot of times, and we've also seen Godwin be hurt too. So I never have them too far apart.
Yeah, I would probably say Evans, but I don't think you could really go wrong with either one. I think Evans produced decent amount more last year than Godwin, but they were both hurt. So It's up in the air a lot with all the Tampa Buccaneers wide receivers. It's the same thing every year.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year we saw a couple times Godwin going before Mike Evans, which personally I never agreed with. I thought Mike Evans deserved to be that guy first. Off that Tampa Bay wide receiver core. But I agree again with both of you. Mike Evans needs to be that wide receiver one off the boards on that Tampa Bay team, not Chris Godwin.
Yeah, Mike Evans was falling big times when it came to draft season last year. He
Yes.
was falling down boards. I remember him going 7th or 8th round in one of mine and being like, okay. I mean, I wasn't high on him like to get him, but like, when he went past the 5th, 6th, I was kind of going, all right, if this swings back around, I'm interested. But he was dropping big time. I don't really know why. So we could see the same thing again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see it again. I think what we saw last year, we know he can be consistent even being 30 years old, but I think it's going to be like that time where Derrick Henry starts to fall because of his age. Mike Evans is going to start to fall because of its age. And you're going to get these late old guys in the later rounds that still produce really good, but people are starting to fall off on them because of the fact that they're starting to get up there in age and they might not be able to produce what they did in the past.
Yep.
So let's go into some NFL draft reactions. We'll go by position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Obviously, quarterbacks, there's not really much to talk about, right? Nothing really big happened with quarterbacks this year, right? Let's go with Caleb Williams first. The consensus 101. We knew he was going to be off the board first. I think he had this this virtual thing in Chicago that he came in what is it called? I don't know what it's called, but it's a hologram. They had a whole hologram of him, and he was like, "Da Bears." I don't understand. But what's your thoughts on him officially being a Chicago Bear? You drafting him in rookie dynasty drafts, fantasy drafts, any drafts? Do you like him?
Do I like him? Yes, I think we talked about this before. I can still see him having a really good ceiling of Stroud, but I can also see him having a Bryce Young type of season too. I mean, he's been given the tools there. Who they brought in, McKeenan Allen, then they drafted Dunze later on. They're setting him up to be great, so he should be. Yeah, I'm interested. I still think if I'm in my drafts, depending also, I suppose depends on your team, but I'm still looking at Harrison, Marvin Harrison Jr. as my 101 in most drafts. If you were in desperate need of,
really,
yeah, I would still go there. If you're in need of, I wouldn't say desperate need, but obviously if you want to go QB or whatever, you go Caleb. But I still think it was the pick the Bears are always going to make, and he's set up to succeed, so hopefully he does well.
Yeah, I can't really see a world in where he fails, to be completely honest with you.
I do.
You do? Okay.
I just don't like him. But anyways,
well, you don't like anybody but Mr. Hand the Ball Off. So that's really where I'll leave that. But no, I just can't see a world where he fails. I mean, he comes out and he's already one of the most spectacular talents that we've seen at the quarterback position in the recent drafts. And then you just stack this offense with all-star caliber players. I mean, it just wouldn't make sense to me if he doesn't come out and have a really, really good rookie season. So I would agree with Keith in the sense that you still have to at least think that Marv could also be the 101. But if, you need a quarterback, I think Caleb's the guy to go to because I really think he's going to have a great year.
Yeah, Keith, you talked about how MHJ was the consensus 101 in dynasty drafts. I've now done 2 dynasty drafts, and MHJ has been the 102 in both of them. Caleb Williams. Yeah, they've gone for Caleb's Superflex League, which I understand, but I think MHJ is the clear-cut 101 should be, even in a Superflex. But like Gary, you said, this team is stacked. This team is a really good team, a stacked team. Keenan Allen, they just added Rome Odunze. This team has every possibility to make Caleb Williams be great. And, I really hope he does because, the Bears, they've had a tough history. Adam Rank needs to be happy for once for the Bears. Maybe he can cheer. Maybe he can see them in the Super Bowl. But yeah, I think, like I was saying with you guys in the past, and Keith, you mentioned it earlier, the possibility of Caleb Williams being as good as CJ Stroud or as not as good as Bryce Young or even like a mid Trevor Lawrence. And that's the thing. I think this is the big spectrum of Caleb Williams, and I think we're going to have to see it in the preseason and really see it in this year and really decide whether or not he's a future for fantasy.
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially in redraft, I think he's a risky pick in redraft, even though he has the,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I mean, like CJ Stroud balled out last year, but like if you take like Josh Allen or any top guy that runs, they're just like, you know, completely a level ahead. So, you know, it's a risky pick. Caleb's going to have to use his legs, which I don't know if he will a whole lot, but I think he'll be fine in Dynasty, but redraft, I definitely have my reservations.
Yeah, I think. Sorry to cut you off, Freddie. But I just want to throw out. I think the only thing stopping him is himself and his possibility of getting injured. We just got to see if the Bears line can hold up. If they will, then he's going to be great.
Yeah, and I do want to ask you this, a follow-up. Roger Goodell talked about possibly having 18 games and only making 2 preseason games. I think he also mentioned having 2 bye weeks. What's your thoughts on that? Do you like the 18 games? Do you think, and here's a follow-up, do you think there should be 2 bye weeks for each team?
Yeah, I'm on board with all this. 2 bye weeks and getting rid of a preseason game to put another regular season game in. Like, I think they need to get more teams, need to extend the season. I mean, I get it's hard on bodies, you know, some positions more, and then like the injuries stack up too. But it's such a short season, in my opinion. That like any more regular season games, I think is a good thing. Especially if they'll get more TV, more rights, all that stuff. It's going to bring in a lot of money for the NFL. So yeah, I'm behind this.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody loves football, and if they're going to bring us more, then why not? I would just recommend that 1 bye week be in the front 9, and then 1 be in the back 9, so that no one gets screwed that way.
Yeah.
And as long as it's like that, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, having the 2 bye weeks is really good for players because they get to kind of reset, reheal, and be able to come back. And preseason games, really, I mean, who watches them? Keith, do you watch them?
No, we don't even really get them up here. You know, if you really want to find them, you can watch them somewhere, but you don't really get them here. And like, kind of think like the first 2-3 games of the regular season, most teams are finding out how good or bad, or you know, this player is, that player is, and what systems and all works and what don't work. So they kind of are, you know, preseason games and such. You know,
it's like a scrimmage game.
But that's it. Like, and a lot of times you have the offense like are balling out on top because the defense hasn't caught up to speed yet, and then you know, give it a few games and defenses are killing it. So they're all kind of preseason games early on, anyways.
Exactly. Gary, do you watch preseason games?
I'm not throwing on here and there, but to be honest, the only one that I think I watched this past year was the Hall of Fame game because the Browns were in it, and I was just so eager to watch the team take the field. But other than that, like once the season starts like really creeping up on you, it's like, all right, I can wait to see, you know, real football.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think the thing that I do is I won't watch the preseason games, but I'll go back and look at the stats because I think that's something to look at. Look at the stats. Like when I go into the first week of preseason and I get to watch my favorite Drake May throw 5 interceptions, you know, in the preseason game. Hopefully not. May he be good. Which also really annoyed with the Patriots because now they're making May jokes. It's May 1st. May Drake be with you and all that. It's
Does
crazy.
May have to be May to get picked? Isn't Mayo or whatever the head coach? So it's like Mayo and May.
Yeah, I swear. I don't know. I don't really like Drake May. But anyways, going back.
How many times? Hey Gary, how many times is he gonna say that through like all these
Yeah,
shows? I don't really
yeah,
like
exactly.
Drake
Like
May.
Freddie, we know.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
we
yeah,
understand.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think Nick knows. Nick says I'm a big fan of Drake May. So, but anyways, yeah, Caleb Williams, fantasy impact. I mean, he's definitely a first round 101, 102 pick in Dynasty. In fantasy redrafts, again, I'm all on the bus with Keith. Don't really draft him. Kind of try to see where he goes. Because it could be like a Kyle Pitts situation where Kyle Pitts is so overhyped that he gets drafted so early and then he doesn't really perform as good as people wanted him to perform. So you spend that high draft capital on a guy like Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
But a lot of potential there. A lot of potential.
Mock drafts closer to the time for redraft, closer to the season will give you a good kind of indication, especially if you're doing like a live one with people. That'll give you a good indication of what kind of whereabouts he's going.
Yeah. Next one up is Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels, I think he's good. I think he's going to be good for fantasy. He's a rushing machine. He likes to rush the ball. In Washington, they have Scary Terry. They got some good wideouts. They got the run game. I think it's going to work out well for Jaden Daniels for fantasy purposes because he can rush. The only concern is, can he be able to have enough time on offense to throw the ball? Does he have time to get playmakers to catch the ball? That's my biggest question mark on him. But I'm not too concerned with Jaden Daniels. Sorry.
You love Drake May.
I'm telling you. He's haunting me in my dreams. I'm telling you. But anyways, yeah, Jaden Daniels, I do like him. I think he's a clear-cut QB2 in this draft. Good pick there from the Commanders.
Yeah, I like them. No real kind of issues. Just hope he can perform for the Commanders. Commanders with a lot of, up and down and moving positions and players with that quarterback position. So just hope they can perform. But yeah, I have no real issues with this pick.
Yeah, he'll be solid, I think, for fantasy purposes, but I'm not really sure how good it'll be for the Commanders in their future. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm just not a Jaden Daniels fan. I think that what people see are on the stat sheet for him, and a lot of that was very inflated this year. But I hope that he proves me wrong. I'd love to be proved wrong, but I think that he'll be pretty solid for fantasy.
Yeah. Moving into the 103 pick. Now, this pick had a lot of offers. The Vikings offered the Patriots the 11, 23, a 25 first for the 3 and 2 mid-rounders. The Giants offered the 6, a 25 first, and for the 3. My question to you guys is, as the Patriots GM, are you guys taking any of these deals?
I don't think you had a choice. Like, I think you had to just take the quarterback. Like, what do you do? You know what I mean? Unless you're gonna move back to the Viking spot, right? And then just take JJ there, I suppose, which I'm guessing you would have been very happy with, Fernando. But I mean, if you're the Patriots and you're happy that May's your guy, that's where you gotta go. So I don't think they should have taken that deal. I know you were going, yes, they should have taken it. Stop even trying to be serious, Fernando. This is just like your worst nightmare. We're just bringing it back up again, isn't it?
It's so bad. So bad.
To be honest, coming from an NFL fan standpoint, I would have taken either of the offers, but I know that Drake May was their guy. So
yeah.
Of course, they're not going to if that's the case. But I would have taken the offers probably.
I agree with you. Drake May was their guy, and I understand that. But you get a lot of draft capital, and I think that's the really big important thing. Say you get these 2 11, 23 picks plus next year's first. You give up the 3, and say you give up a 4th and a 6th. I know they had a lot of things to address, but now you're getting top 3 first-round picks for the number 3 guy. The question was the Vikings always going to take J.J. McCarthy? Would they have taken J.J. McCarthy at 3? That's the biggest question mark.
That would have been funny if they traded.
That would have been.
And you would have been left with Drake May later on or something. That would have been.
That would have just been.
I mean,
that would have been.
it would have been
That would have
good.
been the icing of the cake. But that would have been so funny too.
It would have been good for capital wise because you would have, you end up getting the same player, got the draft
That's what
capital.
I'm
But
saying.
I mean, for your point of view, it just prolonged the decision.
No, it literally does. Literally does. But obviously, no quarterback really fell down to the 11th pick. I mean, it was the 11th pick, and the only other player there was Bo Nix on the board because obviously the Vikings traded up to number 10 just in case that the Broncos or the Raiders traded up to number 10 to draft Bo Nix. But I mean, you could have drafted. I mean, say for instance, you end up actually going to get the Giants offer, which was a 6th overall pick. Whether or not Drake May was taken from the Giants or whatever, I don't know if they were going for a quarterback with that 3 pick.
Yeah,
I think they were going to go for MHJ.
Yeah, I agree too. I don't think they were going to go for quarterback.
Exactly. Which then Drake May could have still fell to them. I think if personally, and this is no bias here with the Patriots, no bias here with the Drake May, but I'm saying like you get all this draft capital, I would have taken it. I mean, now say for instance you get JJ, you get anyone, JJ or Drake, fine, you get Drake, you get all the draft capital. Now you're looking good because you didn't do good in free agency, which was obviously a rookie mistake from Gerard Mayo. But I don't know. Drake May is a Patriot. I guess I have to hope that he does good. May he be good. My motto, may he be good. But anyways, moving on to the next quarterback. Michael Penix, I would say the biggest shock in this draft. I mean, I accidentally looked at Twitter just before the pick was made on TV, and I was telling all my friends, I said, this is a shock pick. And my friend who might be watching Nick still, he was with me, and he said, it couldn't be a quarterback, right? They just paid Kirk Cousins, would not be a quarterback. Well, on TV, Michael Penix Jr. Classic Falcons move. I think, I don't know, if Michael Penix is the starting quarterback within the first 2 years of Kirk Cousins' contract, then the Falcons have failed. And they wasted a bunch of money.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing with it? And not to mention, you don't even tell your quarterback, Kirk Cousins, that you're drafting him until you're on the clock.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's not a good start for a relationship between Cousins and the Falcons. That's what I tell you. This pick, okay, it did surprise me, but I mean, I think everybody's just shocked at where he was taken. I mean, if you waited a round or two or something and they still ended up with Penix, I think they would have just went, well, okay. But actually taking him at the 108 is kind of like, well, what's going on? Yeah, and like he's already like 24 or whatever. Like he's not like a spring chicken. So, I mean, it doesn't really add up. You know, they've holes to fill, especially on that defense and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't really know where they were going with this. I think that if anything, it's just going to cause issues within the team. Because clearly Kirk Cousins is not going to be happy and is not happy. Yeah. And is he going to be the one to like help and mold Penix? I mean, he's a nice guy, but I mean, I'm not sure now because he was expecting to go there, hopefully go on a team that makes a run for a Super Bowl because that's what he wants. So, and you know, he's probably like you said, I know it's like if he doesn't play in 1 or 2 years and all that, but if Cousins doesn't do it in 1 or 2 years, then you've got Penix throwing. That's fine, but Cousins is not going to be happy to do
it. Yeah, exactly. I think that's by far probably the dumbest pick in the draft, or at least the top 10. It just didn't make sense to me. I was shocked. I remember scrolling through Instagram later on that night, and I saw a Falcons fan defending it, and he was like, listen, if we had taken like a defensive lineman or a DN,
Dallas Turner, the best defensive player,
right? He was like, that wouldn't immediately boost our defensive line into the top 10 or whatever. And I'm like, how do you know that? How could you say that? Like, I mean, we've seen it numerous times. Like, you think the Lions with Aiden Hutchinson just automatically boosting this defense like crazy. I mean, how can you just go out and say that would not like just cure your defensive problems? It probably would. I mean, that's their only weak spot. The defense is good. Other than that, and they just did not need to make that pick. It made no sense, and I was so surprised.
The biggest issue is their biggest weakness was the defense. They addressed the offense a lot in the free agency, and I mean, all eyes turned to a defensive player at that 8th pick. And just to mention, if Kirk Cousins does finish out his contract in Atlanta as a starting quarterback for the next 4 years, by the time that Michael Penix Jr. is able to start for the Falcons, he'll be going on to his 5th-year contract. If he decides, they decide to extend him, and he'll be 28, about to be 29 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the age thing doesn't bother me too much because they're playing longer now and stuff like that. But he'd need to be, if he doesn't play till then, he'll need to be great straight away if the Falcons are going to have any sort of chance.
In fantasy, are you drafting dynasty wise? Are you drafting him? Are you still going to plan on drafting him, or are you only drafting him if you have Kirk Cousins?
I don't plan on drafting him at all unless I'm like, I've got like a late 3rd round or 4th round, somehow he's still there, and I'm just like, I'll take him because everything else is terrible. That's the only way I'm taking him.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't even bother.
I do want to ask, because I skipped over the question with Drake May, is where are you guys drafting him in fantasy? If you guys are drafting him.
He's not on my radar, to be honest, right now.
Okay.
And purely because you're not going to be
And
good.
and this is just a pure redraft or dynasty?
Both. It can be either or. I mean, Dynasty-wise, Drake May. Dynasty-wise, I've been taking J.J. McCarthy over Drake May in Dynasty drafts.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Drake...
I would agree with that. But to be completely honest with you, I don't think a Drake May in a Dynasty League is a bad pick, but like whatsoever, because if you want me to have an unbiased opinion, of course, live in New England, but would not want to see them succeed, I think that Gerard Mayo is going to do a complete opposite. No, I think he's going to do a complete opposite of what you guys are used to with Belichick. And I think he's going to actually try to sign people. So I think that he's going to go after a lot of these big name receivers any chance that he can. Whether he reels them into New England is one thing, but I think he's going to try a good amount to get Drake May this help that past Patriots quarterbacks haven't been able to say that they've had.
So you're telling me the 2nd round pick was Jalen Polk. That was a great pick.
Well,
because last time I checked, I thought that was a terrible pick.
I don't think it was a terrible pick. I think that A.D. Mitchell was the better pick, but clearly teams didn't like him either. So
no, even Troy Franklin, which was a surprise.
Yeah, he fell. So what?
4th round, 2nd round, second pick in the 4th.
Wasn't there like some report leading up to the draft about, was it Mitchell? I think it's Mitchell.
Yeah, like his character or something like that.
Is he is a diabetic, I think, or something like that?
Oh, is that what it was?
And and he doesn't. I hope I'm getting the right guy here, but there was one wide receiver that like fell. And I'm pretty sure it was him. Basically, he's not controlling it. And when he doesn't control it, he's like he pisses coaches off and all this stuff. So,
well,
it is. You are correct on that.
Am I right?
Yeah. One thing about A.D. Mitchell is that he, if he's not getting the ball, he won't run a route that he's supposed to run. But I think that is not going to be a problem that coaches will want to live with. I think that they're going to correct that immediately, and he's not going to be able to be in the NFL long doing that type of stuff. Yeah. So I think that's easily coachable, and that's not going to be a problem whatsoever. So that's why I think that A.D. Mitchell falling was such a big steal for the Colts, because this is the NFL now. Like, stuff like that's not going to fly. And I think that players that want to play and come to the NFL know that. So,
yeah, I mean, he wasn't a top, two rounds, 3 rounds. Where did he fall? 2nd round, 3rd round?
It was like mid to late 2nd.
Yeah, it was a day 2 pick. I mean, these NFL teams, they don't really care. If you don't start acting up, you're gone. Like they don't really care. It's the NFL. It's like you're in your teen stages in college, and you go to the NFL, and now you're all grown up, and you got to act correctly. But yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll talk more wide receivers in a bit. But JJ McCarthy, the next guy off the board at 10, pick number 10 to the Vikings. He's the ROI for me, rookie of the year. If Marvin Harrison's not, JJ McCarthy is going to thrive with Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Jordan Addison. Give it to me. Give it to me.
I hope
ROI.
he does. I mean, I'm only going on what I seen when you were doing all the rookies. Like that's not.
Yeah.
He didn't show a lot, to be honest, and he didn't have to. So that was the issue I had. But I mean, he's another one like Caleb. I think he's put in a place where he could be great. So I hope it works out for him. I would be taking him over Drake May, though, like you said, purely because of that offense and what potential like he has.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Obviously, he's got the weapons around him too. It's just we haven't seen him throw as much at Michigan, of course. So we'll see how that'll change in the NFL if it does. Vikings just got Aaron Jones, but let's be real, since Dalvin Cook's prime, they haven't really had that premier rushing attack that JJ McCarthy was able to have at Michigan. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how he translates to the NFL. I wouldn't be surprised if he's solid, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's not either.
I'd be surprised if he's not. Moving into the Oregon guy, Bo Nix, going at 12. I think he shocked a lot of people because I think Michael Penix and Bo Nix going within the top 13 picks or top 12. First 6 of the first 12 picks were quarterbacks. And I think that shocked everyone. And I think Bo Nix and the Broncos were a good fit for Bo Nix. And I think the question is Broncos were scared that maybe they weren't going to get a decent quarterback in the third, possibly. And they decided to just take it on Bo Nix.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised they went for Bo Nix purely by what you said. The other teams had taken the quarterbacks, especially when Michael Penix went. Like I think everybody was expecting the Vikings to go take JJ anyways. So I wasn't surprised. It's just for fancy wise, like I'm not interested in them Broncos. I'm not saying don't go get him in Dynasty or whatever. He could be good down the line, but right now he's just someone who doesn't interest me. That Denver offense team together doesn't interest me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The Denver Broncos are absolutely horrible, and they're probably going to be for a while. So I wouldn't think about anybody on that team for a while. I was surprised, not that he went to the Broncos because I had him going there, but so early. I mean, I thought that him and Penix were going to be 2 of the last 5 picks in the draft with teams trading up together. But I was wrong, and I was surprised. But I had a feeling that he was going to go to the Broncos. We'll see how he does. He's definitely not going to be good, at least to start, because that Denver offense, and like Keith had stated, the entire team is just really bad. So
yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Bo Nix. He does have his top target teammate in Troy Franklin now on the Broncos. And I think, personally, in fantasy, I'm not trusting Bo Nix in Dynasty, but I'm trusting Troy Franklin a lot because I think he'll have to go to Troy Franklin. But the question is,
But if you're trusting Franklin, does that not mean you have to trust Bo Nix then? Because he's the one that got to give him the ball.
Yeah, true. But would you rather spend a late second round pick on Bo Nix and an early third on Troy Franklin in Dynasty? Or would you rather just take a top quarterback in Dynasty and then take Troy Franklin in the early third?
Yeah, I'd rather that. But I just mean if you're gonna go take him, I just think there has to be some faith if you're thinking Nix is a starter, which I'm guessing he is, that he's got to make him his go-to guy.
I mean, true, but I think there's always times where we see in fantasy where some quarterbacks don't do good, but you see wide receivers thrive. Like they started doing really good and put up numbers, but you won't see a quarterback. Bo Nix could put up 13 to 15 points, but you could see Troy Franklin scoring 20 points, scoring a couple touchdowns or whatnot.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it in the first round. I mean, for quarterbacks, after that, the next quarterback that went was in the 5th round, which was one of the largest gaps in history. From the first round, pick 12, to the 5th round and pick 15, it was Spencer Rattler, Jordan Travis, Joe Milton, Devin Leary, Michael Pratt. Those are the next guys to be drafted. Spencer Rattler, Joe Travis, and Joe Milton are the 3 names that I think are going to be in waiver wire pickups possibly in the future. Rattler, if Carr doesn't produce, they might turn to Rattler in New Orleans. Jordan Travis could be the future of New York Jets. We don't know, with Aaron Rodgers behind him. Behind Aaron Rodgers, excuse me. And then Joe Milton getting drafted by the Patriots. Well, Joe Milton could beat Drake May out of a job. The next Brock Purdy.
Fighting for that starting spot.
Not only that, but also Jacoby Brissett's there too.
True. Yeah.
He's gonna end up starting, isn't he, the first few weeks?
I hope.
Yeah. I mean, I like Milton actually. He's just not going to win the job, I don't think, with Drake May there. There's no way. But who knows? Drake May could be a Zach Wilson or a Trey Lance that got picked number 3 and lose his job to Brock Purdy. I mean, you never know. There's possibilities. JJ McCarthy's he's great. He's great. I love JJ McCarthy. I wish he went to the goddamn Patriots. But anyways, let's go into our running backs. There's not many running backs to really talk about. Let's be real. Jonathan Brooks. He was the first running back off the board. Went to Carolina. I mean, I don't really like the landing spot personally. I think if you're drafting him, you might be in desperate need of a running back in Dynasty, because I'm not a big fan of Brooks, and I'm not a big fan of where he fell in Carolina. And Miles Sanders is also there.
Yeah, Miles Sanders. I was a fan of Brooks. I don't mind the landing spot.
Really?
I get the team's going to be bad, but they could just hand it off to him all the time if they want to. Do you know what I mean? Like he's going to get. I think he's going to get work if he's in that team. All depends coming back from the injury and stuff like that. But I didn't mind it. Don't get me wrong. Any of these guys shouldn't be anywhere near the top of your drafts, in my opinion. They should be all filled with the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. But I didn't actually mind this. I think the Panthers have got a good one here.
Yeah, I actually completely agree. I don't hate the landing spot at all. Miles Sanders is trash and has been for years, and I've never understood the hype around him. I think that Jonathan Brooks will probably be the main guy a few weeks in, if not to start. So I think that if you're looking for a guy that honestly could be a borderline flex player in redraft leagues, you might have a guy in Jonathan Brooks. I don't think he's going to be too bad, but we'll see as the time goes on. There's still a lot of time left. So, I
mean, he could be Christian McCaffrey from what we used to see in Carolina.
Right.
He could.
We've seen the Panthers do that before. But
the only question is,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the only issue is he going to be that next running back to be like CMC? Because you're probably about to say that they never really had the next CMC.
Right.
Until possibly now with Brooks. And I'll move into really the other guy is Trey Benson. Are you rather getting Trey Benson, who's in Arizona, behind James Conner, or are you taking Jonathan Brooks behind Miles Sanders? And these guys have been going in the second round in dynasty picks, roughly like early second round, like 202, 203. Thoughts?
I'm not going on Brooks, but I actually like the landing spot for Benson because Conner is injury prone pretty much. I get when he's on the field he's pretty good, but I think it could be a bit of a two-headed backfield, and I think Benson's going to take over. And I think the Cards are definitely going to be a team, maybe not next year, but maybe the year after, a team on the up. So I definitely do like it, but like right now I'd be picking Brooks.
Gary, you had Benson at number 1 in pre-drafts.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the better back, but I don't really like the landing spot as much as I like Brooks. People let Conner fall back-to-back years in drafts, and I don't know why. I picked him in like 4 of my leagues. I was happy with where he was going. I think that he's always been a solid back in his career, and the Cardinals continue to lean on him at times. He's a touchdown machine. I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to do that this upcoming year. Of course, health is always a question. but I think that Trey Benson isn't really going to shine, at least in his first year. So I would lean more towards Brooks.
Okay, I'm a big Benson. I'd pick Benson over Brooks, personally. But again, I think with the Kyler Murray offense versus the Bryce Young offense, there is room for both of them to grow. It's really going to see what production are they going to have in that offense in their first year with Miles Sanders and James Conner, the starters. But like Keith, you said, the injury proneness with Conner, but Benson as well. Benson had that big injury. Is he going to be able to transition into what he produced in college to the NFL? And is his legs going to stay the way it is and not be like, I don't know, Todd Gurley? Hopefully not, because I do like Trey Benson a lot. The next, there's only two other guys, and we don't really have to talk about them. But Blake Corum going to the Rams and Marshawn Lloyd going to the Packers. These two guys are day 2 picks. I mean, we've talked in the past, Keith and I, how day 3 picks and sometimes even 3rd round picks, you might start a year, and then after that, your job's completely gone. You might not see that job anymore, because running backs are just, the NFL doesn't really care too much about running backs. They just draft him left and right. Are you good? Are you not good? Are you efficient? Are you not? If not, we'll move to the next guy in line. Corum and Lloyd, are you guys interested in any of them? I think for me, I'm interested in Corum over Lloyd, only because of the landing spot for the Rams. And I think Kyron Williams, the 1-2 punch, I think that'll be really good for him.
I'm definitely interested in Lloyd because just the way the Packers use their running backs, I don't think Josh Jacobs was ever going to be the guy that was just going to carry the rock.
What about AJ Dillon?
Nah, he's trash. He's gone. He's
Oh.
out. That guy lost his legs last year. I think they can mix him Lloyd pretty well, and I think he'll suit their offense. So I'm definitely interested there. Corum, not so hot in that land spot.
I like both of them. I mean, the Rams have always used, well, not always, I guess, but for a majority of the past couple of years, they've used their running back by committee. I mean, of course, Kyron Williams, diamond in the rough that they got, but I really wouldn't be surprised if they mix in Corum a good amount of time. Even though they used Kyron a lot, they still gave goal line touches to, I believe, Hendo when he was healthy, and somebody else that was there. I can't remember right now. So I really wouldn't be surprised if Corum is a decent back too for where he landed. And like Keith mentioned, I'm fine with Marshawn Lloyd as well, just due to the fact that Packers also utilize their running backs very well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what both of them are going to be able to provide. Unfortunately, I agree with you guys with AJ Dillon. There was so much hype with him, and then he just kind of fell off. He just hasn't been able to get in there. But we'll move into our wide receivers. A lot of wide receivers to talk about, but 5, if I'm correct, or 6 or 7 wide receivers went in the first round. Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy, Ricky Purcell, and then Xavier Leggett. 7 wide receivers. We'll talk about Marvin Harrison. I mean, he's pretty quickly. He's clear-cut best wide receiver in the rookie class, maybe in the past couple of years, alongside JJ and Jamar Chase. I mean, is there really much to talk about him? Landing spot's great. I like him there. Kyler Murray's going to thrive.
I think it all kind of fell into place what we talked about, before the draft, and not much to say. I think it's going to work out well for Marv and Kyler and this cards going forward.
Cardinals fans better be happy they got their new Larry Fitzgerald. So
yeah.
Moving into Malik Neighbors, love the guy. I think he's a great wide receiver. He just fell into the Giants.
Awful landing spot for fantasy.
And rumors had it earlier today that Drew Lock has the possibility of starting over Daniel Jones.
I think he's going to. I think he kind of has the first few weeks if the way he's the injury with Daniel Jones is. I think that's what he's on track to start at least maybe week 1. So yeah, good luck to that, Mr. Neighbors. I hope things work out, but I don't think they will.
I don't think he was happy when he was drafted, if I'm correct, right?
He didn't look.
Would you be?
No.
I would not be.
I would not be. I expected him to go to the Chargers. I was honestly surprised they took Joe Alt. If I figured that if they were going to do that, they were going to move down a couple picks. Maybe they just weren't getting calls. I don't know, but I thought that the number one priority, of course, you have to get tackles, especially if you're the Chargers. But I thought your number one priority was getting Herbert another weapon. Maybe that was not on their mind, but yeah, I don't really think Neighbors is going to do great in the Giants' offense. He's a great player, though. So if he goes somewhere else towards the middle of his career, I think that he could be a really good wide receiver.
Yeah, I really hope, or maybe he can be really good next year if they draft a solid quarterback.
Right, they get another guy. Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Rome Odunze going to the Chicago Bears at 9. Personally, I don't know why they're drafting Odunze. I don't think they needed to. I thought they had DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Like, why are you drafting Odunze at number 9? I think it just ruins fantasy impact for him, and I'm not touching him in fantasy because there's too many mouths to feed for targets.
I like it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they move on from DJ Moore because I don't know if you remember, but DJ Moore had a big mouth on him when there was issues with Justin Fields, possibly before he'd been traded, and DJ Moore did not like it. So I wouldn't be surprised if they move on from him. I'm not saying to move on, this season, but I think Odunze would be fine for his rookie, contract with them. I think DJ Moore could be out, maybe this season, maybe next season.
I love it, honestly. I had him going here. It didn't really surprise me at all. I thought it was the pick to make. I just think that you got a rookie guy coming in, loaded up with offense. They did. So I think that that's the best way that they're going to make him perform his best and be at the comfortability level that he can get to want to play in Chicago. Yeah, I have nothing else to say. I think it was a great pick.
Yeah, I mean, the question really is does Keenan Allen retire within the next couple of years? And does DJ Moore, do they move on, like Keith was saying? If that is the case, Odunze could go from the wide receiver 3 there to the wide receiver 1 after 1 or 2 years, which would be huge and big plus there. And you would just have to wait and hope you have a taxi squad in your dynasty.
Yeah. Also, you got to think about the Bears, right? The Bears have been known not to take the best player on the board for how many years? And they probably thought, like, this guy is just sitting there, the next best wide receiver up. We just got to go get him. And at least, okay, say he doesn't work out, but I think you can probably say he was the best player on the board at the time, or definitely wide receiver anyways. And that's where he wanted to go. So in that regard, they've definitely made the right pick.
Fair enough. Next one, Brian Thomas from LSU, Jacksonville Jaguars. He's got Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis to try to fight for a spot as the wide receiver 3, 2, maybe even 1. I think Kirk is a lock for wide receiver 1 there because when he was wide receiver 1 there with T-Law, they thrived very well. And then they brought Calvin Ridley and became a huge mess. I think Brian Thomas will probably be the wide receiver 2. He'll probably start as wide receiver 3 and move to the wide receiver 2 within the first couple of weeks, maybe middle of the season.
I was surprised the landing spot for this, but I suppose when you go through it like this, it makes sense. But it's not very good for Trevor Lawrence when you take them wide receivers, even including like I was a fan of his, but when you talk about Gabe Davis and Kirk, okay, he's been pretty good. It's like, yeah, you're not exactly. I don't think we're rushing now for fantasy, to try and get these guys. So I think he can definitely have a solid career or a solid start. I just don't know fantasy wise whether I'd be rushing to get him. It's definitely a late pick. And in Dynasty, if you take him, I'm not expecting him to do much, this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had him going here, and that's just because I heard a few days prior to the draft that the Jags were looking for a pass catcher. I was surprised when I saw that, but I, thought about it. I guess it made sense. I think are trying to do the same thing. I don't know how many more years they have with Trevor Lawrence, and I think they agree with that. They don't know how many years they have with Trevor Lawrence. So I am not necessarily saying that they're stacking up this offense because clearly they're not, but I think they're trying to do whatever they can to get some more to help Trevor Lawrence in that aspect. We'll see what happens. I think the Jags are abysmal. I think they're going to be so bad, and they continue to not be as good as people believe they are to the year prior, and I think that starts with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I think the biggest question is Trevor Lawrence and whether or not is Brian Thomas going to be able to have that connection with Lawrence, or are they going to move on from him and then he has to find another connection with the next quarterback in line, or maybe they turn to Mac Jones, or Mac Jones, who's behind. Xavier Worthy going to the Chiefs to no surprise. I mean, do we really have to talk much about him? Rashee Rice is possibly going to get suspended for half the season. That's the rumors right now. If he is, I mean, Xavier Worthy. Question is, can he catch a ball? And two, can he turn his speed into a good speedy wide receiver, or is he going to turn into a John Ross type?
The biggest thing I took out of this is that the Bills are idiots and they just let the Chiefs go win again. How many times do the Bills want to just go, here, Chiefs, go win another Super Bowl? That was the biggest thing because, I think, I know, Gary, you were mocking him all the time. It was wordy. So I don't think anybody was surprised at this pick. But, Bills, sort your life out.
Yeah, no, this is the clear-cut move. I think the Chiefs are trying to follow whatever the script was that people had that he was going to go there, and they were like, you know what? We see what we like, or we see this guy, we like it, and we're going to go out and get it. But yeah, I completely agree, and I was going to say the same thing. I don't know what the Bills were doing. They just are in love with being not first, I guess.
Just imagine that Xavier Worthy turns into this amazing wide receiver, just like Patrick Mahomes did, and it was all thanks to the Bills both times.
Yep,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
Put anybody on the offense with Mahomes, and they
well, those receivers weren't as good last year.
No, they weren't, but they still have a Super Bowl ring at the end of the year.
That's true. That is true.
I think that you can say that about anybody but Kadarius Toney because he is absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
he's so bad.
He's so bad.
My final mock, I had the Chiefs trading up to get Xavier Worthy, but I had them taking the trade with the Cardinals, who was one pick ahead of the Bills, because I thought the Bills would be interested in possibly taking him. And then all of a sudden it's the Bills that are trading it. I don't know what they were thinking, what that GM is thinking, what that draft room is thinking at the time. But
and then they took a wide receiver.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens and what he'll turn out to be. But we'll move into the next guy, Ricky Pearsall. This was a kind of a shock here going to the 49ers because, a late first round wide receiver. I thought this pointed to all signs that either Debo or Ayuk could get traded. And it doesn't look like they're going to get traded. Maybe they get traded in the mid-season, but I like Ricky Pearsall. I've always been a good guy. I like him. But I don't know. I'm kind of concerned with his landing spot because there's too many mouths to feed again.
I was on the same boat as you. I like it if one of the guys got traded, and I thought that's what the plan was because I don't really get it otherwise. And if the two guys stay, I don't see where he fits, to be honest, because then you've got the whole too many mouths to feed, in my opinion. But I would imagine one of these guys is getting traded.
Yeah, I was kind of confused, but I want to take you back, Freddie, just a little bit. I may have gotten the guy wrong, but I said the Niners were going to take a wideout. I said they were going to take Troy Franklin. I just had a feeling that they wanted to do it, and they wanted to mess up this draft, and they did exactly that. It was kind of confusing, the player at least, because I didn't think Ricky Pearsall as much of more than a mid-second rounder, to be completely honest with you. So seeing him go into the first was pretty shocking, but I had a feeling the entire time they were going to take a wide out. I was just really surprised at which one it was.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest question is I think he has potential to capitalize and be fantasy impactful, but it's going to decide on whether or not Debo can stay healthy, Ayuk can stay healthy, and do they move in during the season or just prior to the season. But I guess we'll see. And the next one that we're going to talk about is Xavier Leggett, and that's another guy that was a big questionable call by the Carolina Panthers. I mean, he was your wide receiver 10, Gary. He wasn't even Keith and I's anywhere near wide receiver 10. He wasn't. He was outside the top 10 for us. So Leggett going to 32 to the Panthers, one pick ahead. one pick ahead to what they had. I don't really know what they were looking at. I know they
Yeah,
were
that
looking
made
for the 5th-year
sense.
option. I know they were looking for the 5th-year option with Leggett, but I don't know if he's going to be the guy.
I don't get this at all, but I hope they clearly know more than I do. But then again, if you look at their track record, they probably don't. I would have had Coleman, Franklin, 2 guys off the top of my head there way before Leggett. So yeah, good luck to them. I hope it works out, but he's not a guy I'm interested in for fantasy. Especially, I'm not interested. I would be interested in a lot of wide receivers for the Panthers, but this guy I'm definitely out on for now, anyways.
Yeah, I was very surprised, especially due to the fact that they moved up one spot to get him.
Yeah.
I agree with you. The 5th year, if that's what they were shooting for, is not the way to go. Yeah, it made no sense to me. Kudos to the Bills in that sense, I guess.
Yeah, they got really lucky.
Yeah, I guess, but it just it didn't make sense to me.
I can guarantee you that the whole conversation between the Bills and the Panthers were, what wide receiver you're taking.
Yeah.
Oh, you're taking Xavier Leggett? Oh, by all means, here you go. Take this pick. I'm fine giving you him. But yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. That was just a terrible pick. Probably one of the worst wide receiver picks besides Pearsall.
Yeah.
But going into the second round, Keon Coleman, I think he is probably going to be, other than really MHJ, I think he's the wide receiver too, based on landing spots.
Yeah, I really liked him, and I love the landing spot. And just looking at what was it, Mike Clay here, and he has Leggett over Coleman just in his rankings here. I'm like, I don't know, guys, what's going on? There's like 200 not targets gone from that Buffalo offense, and Coleman is gonna get a bunch of them. You know what I mean? Like, if not half or whatever. So like, I don't see how you don't win with getting Coleman in your drafts. I think he's a great pick. I have no problem. Don't know where I take him in redraft, but I have no problem going out and looking for him anyways. Just with Josh Allen there and what he could do this season.
Yeah, the landing spot's really good. That's really all I gotta say. Coleman's a great player too. I think he's what Bills fans thought Gabe Davis was going to provide for them, because he's another big wide receiver that's going to go out and get balls. My only issue is he dropped a lot of balls last year. His ball security was kind of an issue. If he can fix that up, I think he's going to be a really, really good wide receiver in this league.
Bringing this into a circle, are you taking Mike Evans or Keon Coleman in round 7?
Coleman.
Round 7?
That's value for Mike Evans all day long, but sure, he slipped as well. But I would still take the upside of Josh Allen for me. And by then, I would say I'd probably have 3 wide receivers too. Sorry, go ahead there.
I'd probably lean Evans, but I think Coleman's going to be good. So it's also just the fact that Coleman is a rookie, so we can't necessarily say what we're going to get with him just yet. I understand the complete upside with Josh Allen and everything, but like I forgot who had commented it, but he said we're going to get 1,000 yards from Mike Evans. At least you know that. And if you're a wide receiver in the 7th round and you're guaranteed 1,000 yards and probably closer to 10 touchdowns, give me that all day.
I'm leaning Keon Coleman only because, like he said, 200 plus targets or whatever, that's now gone. It's going to have to go somewhere, and they don't really have wide receivers there, and Keon Coleman's that guy. So I'm all over Keon Coleman. I like him a lot, especially from FSU, but give me Keon Coleman. Our last wide receiver we'll talk about is Ladd McConkey. Going to the Chargers. I think this is another great pick. I have McConkey and Coleman kind of right back to back. I have MHJ, Keon Coleman, and I kind of really have McConkey, and then after that, it's kind of a jumble with a bunch of the other first-round picks. But I think McConkey has the best chance to be the wide receiver 1 on that offense because QJ is not really good, and Joshua Palmer is a 4-year vet that has not really shown too much, and the running backs, they don't really have anyone, and they have a star-caliber quarterback. So,
yeah, I think it's a great landing spot. I think it's, once him and Herbert get on the same page, I think, he's going to land himself the wide receiver 1 there. Definitely a guy I'd be interested in Dynasty. Where have you been seeing him going Fernando, in your draft.
McConkey?
Interesting. Yeah, because I haven't done any yet, so I'm just trying to see what interesting. Because I can see people loving him, and I can see people being out on him.
I saw him go as early as the 1.10, and I've seen him go as late as the 2.3, 2.4.
Interesting. I would have had him in the back of the first. So yeah, the 210, 2.8, 210, I would have no problem taking, or the 1.8, 110, I have no problem taking them. So if you're getting them early second round, I think that's value.
Are you taking McConkey or are you taking Coleman in dynasties? I'll ask you guys that.
Me, I'm going Coleman, but like I'd literally go Coleman, McConkey. I would literally, if you want, like if someone takes Coleman before me, I'll go McConkey after.
Yeah, I think the Chargers made a great pick for the first time here, and I think that McConkey has really good upside, especially with the cannon arm of Justin Herbert. The only thing is, the Chargers just love owning injury-having wide receivers, I guess. It just, I guess, is that way. But if he can stay healthy, then I think he's another guy that can be pretty good in the NFL.
And I'll ask you too, Gary, Coleman or McConkey in the first round of Dynasty?
Yeah, I would agree with Coleman. I don't think it's too far of a disparity, but I would for sure lean Coleman.
Yeah, I'm taking Coleman too. Just kind of going through the rest of the wide receivers. Jalen Polk going to the Patriots, A.D. Mitchell going to the Colts, Malachi Corley going to the Jets, Jermaine Burton to the Bengals, Roman Wilson to the Steelers, Luke McCaffrey, the brother of Christian McCaffrey, going to the Commanders, Trey Franklin going to the Broncos, and Javon Baker going back to the Patriots. Any of these guys, are you guys having late dart throws with?
Burton interests me with the Bengals again. Landing spot. Don't know what's going on with T. Higgins, Burrow. Like he's interesting, especially because he's going to be late. I'd say late pick anyway. So that's just one that stood out for me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised you didn't mention Jamari Thrash Browns, but that's fine, I guess.
Sorry,
no,
my fault.
What's his surname?
What's that?
What's his surname? Jamari what?
Jamari Thrash, I think is his last
Trash.
Yeah,
So
Jamari Thrash. Yeah,
so trash. So it goes well with the Browns.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I guess you can say that. Fernando, I think you're actually gonna like my pick. I actually like Javon Baker. I
love that guy. I like him over
Javon Baker.
Do you actually like a player that got picked by the Patriots?
Well, yeah, Baker. He's gonna bake over there.
Yeah, no, he's a good player. I think that he might be early on Drake May's security blanket. Who knows? But I think that's kind of the role that he played. Or UCF, right? Is that where he was?
Yes, UCF.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good player. So I like him a lot.
My guy is Luke McCaffrey and the Commanders, and either him or Troy Franklin. I've been targeting them late in the dynasty picks because of the fact that Troy Franklin was this big talk that he was going to be a late first round, then a second. What did the teams not see? What did the team see that we didn't see is the question. But again, he could have fell into the fourth and still be a fantasy stud. Another guy is the Luke McCaffrey guy, brother of Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Luke McCaffrey did well when he was in Rice. The question is he going to be able to transfer the production from Rice to the NFL? Not a big school. Commanders, they lost Curtis Samuel. Can he be that wide receiver 2, maybe 3, jump to wide receiver 2? It's a big question mark. And I mean, who is their quarterback? I forgot who's their quarterback.
Daniels.
Is there anyone?
Daniels.
Oh yeah. So yeah, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Luke McCaffrey and Troy Franklin are my 2 dart throws. Lastly, our only tight end that we'll talk about is Brock Bowers. He went to the Raiders at 13. Kind of surprised because I thought Michael Mayer was good, but I guess not.
I do. Yeah, I think Michael Mayer is good. I think Bowers is good. I just don't really get it because I think they needed other things than another tight end just to add to the group. So I think if you have Mayer, definitely muddies the water for you in fantasy. He's not a guy I'm really looking unless he's slipping down draft boards because I do like the talent, but I'm just iffy. And bar exception, tight ends don't exactly go off year 1 or year 2, or you know what I mean. So he's definitely not a guy I'm not looking at in fantasy anyway.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does good. I think any player that runs routes alongside Devontae Adams, they're probably going to be decent. So production wise, a little off topic here. I'm just confused again as to why we're not talking about Cade Stover. But that's fine too, I guess. No, I think Brock Bowers is going to be a solid player in the Raiders' offense.
You think Stover is going to have something in Houston?
Of course.
Okay. I'll hold you to it.
Hey,
I like Dalton Schultz.
I would love throwing to him. So at
Okay.
OSU. So
Yeah.
Who's the other guy they were all talking about? Is it Sinnott? Because basically
Sanders, Jatavian Sanders.
No, it was Sinnott.
Ben Sinnott.
Oh, Ben Sinnott.
Yeah.
Going to the Commanders. He could be another sneaky one.
Just because he's probably just going to start. Who else they got? I mean, they got rid of Logan Thomas. So I'm not saying he's good. I just think he has a chance to start. That's all.
Yeah. I'll read you this. I'll ask you guys this question. Would you rather take in a dynasty trade? Would you rather take Dalton Kincaid, Zamir White, 1.10, which turned into Ladd McConkey, or would you take the 2.04, which turned into Trey Benson, DeAndre Hopkins, and Sam Laporta?
Who was the first one again?
So what's the question here? Who am I taking?
Kincaid, Zamir White.
Kincaid, Zamir White, Ladd McConkey / 1.10. Trey Benson, 204, Hopkins, and Laporta.
If you're a win now team, I'm going the Laporta side.
Yeah.
If I'm building, I'll take the other side.
I was wheeling and dealing today. I made 4 trades today in one league. So, but that's going to do it here for today's show, as we had some great draft reactions and great fantasy impacts for some of these great players and some of these dud players like Drake May. But we'll see, I guess. Make sure to use code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. They'll match first deposit up to $100. So like Keith and I, when we win all of our leagues and get a nice trophy from Trophy Smack, and or you get Gary a nice toilet bowl trophy, you can go to trophysmack.com/sportstimeHQ. Go get yourself a nice trophy, ring, or belt, or a little banner, Make yourself known that Drake May is going to be the biggest bust in the football league, and JJ McCarthy will be Rookie of the Year. I was joined by my great co-hosts here today by Keith. You can make sure to follow him all over social media at SwampDonkey_90. And be sure to follow Gary all over social media at Gary.Dombeck. I'm Fernando. I'm your host of Sports Time HQ. We are going to see you all next week.